Hey guys, this is GoBug Asia. We want to make a video of all version of storage choices that you can be making. So we thought the best way to do this is representing a spreadsheet. And we'll be making this spreadsheet available on website later at gobugasia.com. So let's jump straight into it. First of all, we are using this something called a risk. It's a heat map of the risk that we are seeing. And obviously, except probably for the fee structure, everything else essentially we're listing it by risk. Green is the lowest risk, and the dark orange is the highest risk. And in our table, we also did a simple total score, which kind of give you a sense of the comparison between them. Now, we're not saying one versus another because I think ultimately you actually probably want to weight the criteria. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on when we do the comparison. So firstly, let's talk through our criteria. In terms of safety of storage, risk of confiscation, the risks during a crisis of when you have a different storage option, a risk of storing high volume of precious metal there, a risk of it if it's a numismatic or jewelry versus if it's a coin or bullion that you're storing that, and in terms of fees. So let's take a look at firstly in terms of risk and obviously our category. The various different categories here we have is first of all a PM, precious metal dealer, or allocated storage. Secondly is self-storage, which is any type of general storage that you could be using to store your furniture, etc. So we are considering that as well, although it's infrequently or usually people even don't even bring this up. And lastly, storing this at a bank, which we have another video of in terms of looking at the cost breakdown between bank and precious metal allocated storage dealer. Precious metal dealer versus a bank, and then storing this self-storage at home. Do a quick editing here. Okay, so then when we take a look at it, we want to mention the lowest risk is probably at a precious metal dealer in terms of or storing at a bank. I think both of them are fairly safe. It's going to be risky if you're going to store this at a general storage. But we actually thought about this for a lot, but although we haven't tried, so a warning note here is hiding some precious metal along with all your other junk may still be a good option because people probably don't expect it to be there. So I think it's actually not too bad an option because you typically get to put on your little lock and no one is really going to go look through your junk. Okay, so and obviously it's medium safe putting it at home. Just because I think it's safe, but in general just not good to put too much precious stuff at home anyways. Now, secondly, in terms of confiscation, I think having it in self-storage is definitely going to be fairly safe as long as at your home because no one's really going to go and look through your self-storage. But in terms of if they ever do a, let's just say, confiscation call in terms of the country that you live in, actually calling a confiscation of gold or silver for that matter, but most likely gold because there's a history of such confiscation, is then I think it's fairly high if you have it at a bank. And even so, I think even a precious metal dealer, although many claims that it's not going to be risky, I think there is still a high risk of it being confiscated even at a precious metal dealer because a lot of them are registered and they will have records of your transaction, etc. So I think there is some risk there, although the allocated storage precious metal dealer probably say there isn't as much of high as a risk or that there isn't a risk, but I think we think there is. Now, in terms of crisis, I think when SHTF, the safest is going to be having your storage at home. What I wanted to mention here is I think you want to store just a small amount of gold coins and one set of wearable jewelry that you can actually wear. In terms of real crisis, you can kind of just bring with you if you need to ever vacate or leave your house to go to a safer place. I think you want to keep something of value so that you can use it to negotiate your commute or the transportation. So I think definitely very good to keep some, but very minimal at home. But it is also probably the safest place to have it. There's no perfect solution, but definitely I think in terms of crisis, accessing the bank would definitely be an issue because everyone will be probably running to a bank or bank for is probably going to be closed. And then in terms of precious metal dealer or any other commercial building, you probably will have minimal access to it because no one's going to be manning it. So that's definitely going to be issues. We leave yellow for both here. So I want to quickly go back to the previous point about confiscation at the bank, and I think this actually depends on the bank. In our particular case, as you guys know, we're storing, from our other video, we store stuff in Bank of China. In Hong Kong, and because I think at least it's right now 2017, China does promote their people in terms of getting gold. So I think the risk of China confiscating gold would be fairly low, especially in terms of the Chinese yuan trying to become more of a currency now. So I think there is going to be very low risk of China confiscating gold. So therefore, and also Bank of China being a national bank of China, I think that it's going to be fairly low risk versus, let's say, Dutch Bank or one of the other banks which are more on the risk. So look at what bank is a bank risk, also the country of the bank's origin. So to determine that, I think specifically right now, if I were to look at Bank of China, I would actually rate this as probably orange or maybe even a green in terms of the risk of confiscation very low just because of the political landscape. So next one, jumping back to high volume. So keeping high volume at precious metal dealer is probably going to be the best option. Don't keep a high volume or to keep too much of a precious metal at your self-storage and nor at home, as we mentioned in the previous point, in terms of safety for you as well, personal safety, in terms of just not keeping a lot of that just in case, in case of robbery, etc. At the bank, it's probably fairly good. I think the only issue we're talking about is probably confiscation. To kind of tie back to this. Then next I want to talk about numismatic and jewelry. So it's probably not going to be an option keeping in a precious metal dealer. Now, I think some storage probably does allow you to keep that, but I think most of them, they do not. And don't keep too much jewelry in your self-storage. It's usually good for, low worth inventory there. At the bank is probably going to be probably your best idea, along with home, as I mentioned here in the the triple star here, and triple asterisk. And I think at the bank it's actually fairly good because there is no confiscation history of confiscating your jewelry and other numismatic collectible coins. So I think that's a good choice either of these points. In terms of coins and bullion, I think the best is probably keeping at a precious metal dealer, especially with any significant volume. Again, not a good idea in your general storage. It's going to be probably, again, due to confiscation reason, a medium risk, and at home, just large amounts, not a good idea. Again, keep some, a little bit of probably, 10 gold coins or something like that, where somewhere around that amount would be a sensible amount to keep at home just in terms of crisis, being able to just bring with you right away. Lastly, fees. Per our other, video, I think the fees are going to be the highest here. Versus it's going to be very low here in terms of self-storage, but not very safe. But again, perhaps you can hide some of them, and to avoid confiscation. At the bank, it's moderate fees, but I think that's still very good. I think in our other video comparing silver, it's essentially the same fee if you're going to store between your bank or your precious metal dealer. But in terms of storing just your in terms of gold, this is probably a very good option. At home, it's going to probably be, no fee or zero, very the lowest fee, right, because storing at home. So all in all, if you take a look at the total score just by equal weighting, the best option, the lowest score is either PM dealer or self-storage, but, the worst is probably, storing at self-storage general, in terms of general outside of self-storage. That's probably going to be pretty low just because of, risk of it being found by, someone else. And it has no warranty, essentially, right? There's no insurance on it. Next is self-storage at bank is pretty good, but I think the higher score, the worse here, is largely due to possible, complication or crisis-driven related. Again, but all in all, I think all of this really depends on what you're considering, so you have to weigh it based on what makes sense for you. So I hope this video helped. If you like this, press like, subscribe to our YouTube channels, follow up on Twitter. We have a Twitter page now, or come to visit our website at goldbugasia.com. Thank you.